This session is with Marlies Cocheret, who's joining us from California. Thank you for coming back, Marlies.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, and for meditating with us, for starting this conversation in the stillness of being, and then seeing what emerges. So actually what I'd like to share with people is that, well, if you'd like to find out about Marlies, you can read her bio on the website and also go to her website. It's marliescocheret.com, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay. So I won't introduce you very much, just to say that you're a very precious teacher and therapist. And when I invited you, you said, "Oh, that love was your what did you say?
I can't remember.
Your most favorite topic." So since it's your favorite topic, why don't you just talk to us about it, just as you feel it in the moment?
Yeah. Well, before I even say anything, and when we sit in meditation, we can have a lot of thoughts. But before the thoughts, even before my words, there is what is love. And I think we all know that deeply in our hearts, but for some reason we forget, I don't know how that happened, but I still ponder on that one. But how can we lose that love? But so I think part of us, we're just searching. I think the spiritual path is mostly about searching for love. And my sense is when we have tried, getting enough new partners or new cars or television screens, and we notice that
gadgets,
gadgets, yeah. So that's
children,
kind of, right, and that's kind of a love of grasping and wanting and filling up, and it's kind of hope, like something will fill me up, something outside me.
Yes.
And I think sooner or later, if we're lucky, we get really disillusioned and get like, wow, nothing in the outside can fill me up. Even a partner, you can have a so-called true love in a partner, and you can have that taste, like, oh, this is it. Yeah, this is it. And sometimes that loses it also, because nobody can fill us up, because we want more. We want more and more and more, because we're empty inside. It's this kind of this empty. I think in Tibetan Buddhism they call the empty ghost. It's this person with this long neck, and it just takes in and in and in and in, and it's just never ending.
The hungry ghost, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the hungry ghost. That's the name. Yeah. So my sense is that, yes, love does seek for union, but it's really truly the union within. We need to find our true love within, not outside ourselves. It's first like, really, when we make this love that we are, when we find out that we are this love, that this that is before words. I can't even put it in words. It's kind of a sense that's here, that's always here. When we make that our true love, our first love, put our tent up there, put all our money in that, then we will start melting in that love. And we cannot but melt in that love, and then we become that love, and that starts overflowing. Yeah. And so that's very different, you know. The love that we learn, at least how I learned it, was like something out there that I need to get. If it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a book or love from someone. And we do need that too, you know. We're all wired. We're social animals. We're wired to be loved in that way. Otherwise, we will die. You know, as a baby, if a baby is not loved, it will die. So that's part of the story, you could say, that kind of love. But then comes closer and closer to home is this true love that lives within, and we have forgotten that fullness of that true love. And because we tend to kind of want to lose ourselves in a love somewhere outside ourselves, and somebody hopefully will take care of us, you know. That it's more what the love that I'm talking of, but even right in this moment. You don't even need to have read a book about love, and even when there are thoughts and feelings, just sense here right now, this quality of wholeness. There is already something still alive here. Just it's looking out of our eyes, it's coming out of our pores, of our skin. It's right here. And there can still be thoughts and feelings, but this love, this is all we need to know. That's my true love. That's my first love. And when we all make that our first love, you know, I don't think we need to go to any satsang anymore. We don't need to go to any webinar anymore. Nothing. We just know this is love, you know. And so in a way, it's devoting your life to your true nature. What is true love? And that sounds really simple what I'm saying. It is actually that simple. It's just not always that easy. I say that a lot. It's very simple, but not that easy. Because in that search for love, you could say, we tend to find first what is not love in our eyes, or what doesn't feel free. And I think Rumi has a poem about it, and I forgot the line, but basically, we just start meeting, you know, we are veiled, you could say. We are veiled. Our love is being veiled. And the process is being unveiled. And in that unveiling, we meet anything that's not unveiled yet. So that can be hurt, or wounds, or pains, or discomforts, that are conditioned. And so the more we receive that, be touched by that, the more we fall deeper in the love that we originally are. So say there's a pain or there's a discomfort, instead of like getting rid of it, what we of course all want to do, because we know there's somewhere this love that we want to feel. But truly that wound or that pain is a doorway in to love. So the more we rest as love, the more we invite anything that's uncomfortable, you could say, we invite that in our love. It's almost like, oh, come here, you know, and then you taste it. And it can be very uncomfortable, but also just wonderful, because there's not a separation anymore between pain and hurt and wounds and the presence of your being. It's all inclusive. So this love that you are becomes overflowing, and it wants to include all of life, good and indifferent. It wants to include, so it will dissolve in it. So, and then more love flows out. You know, love wants to flow out. And it's very different, like, I want this, I want that, you know, I want. It's not a true love in my experience. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I would say it's kind of being devoted to your first love, your true nature. and listen to that. And when we actually don't listen to that, it hurts. It really hurts. And when we do listen to our love, to the being that we are, that can come in a voice, do this, go here, feel that, move now, very simple. When we listen to that, life starts also flowing more and overflowing more. When we don't listen to that, like, well, say you meet somebody and you think like, well, this is a really nice man or a nice woman, this is really okay, even though this love says, no, this is not it. You're like, this is so good. And then, sooner or later we find out like actually this love was right. So it's really learning to trust. You could say like the deep intuition of the heart. To learn to listen to that and feel into that and sense. Love and the senses are very close, and it speaks to us. I don't know. I just feel it when I'm speaking. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I would say my first love. And of course, when I was younger, I had this idea, true love is being with someone else. And that's it. That's all fulfilling. That's what's shown to us by the movies. But I think it's always interesting. The movie stops at the moment that they get married or they fall in love and they found each other, and then the movie stops. But then we are with our own movie, like, okay, what do we do? How do we live that? Because I think the love between two people comes the closest to that sense of union that we feel within. It's kind of like that taste of love between two people is the knowing of the possibility, is the knowing of what's possible in love. And then, if it's in a day or a month or a year, we lose that because we come in our not love side, we come into our conditioned side, in our humanity, and we don't quite know how to rest as that love and live as that love. So I would say that's one of the biggest invitations for all of us, to fully fall as the wholeness, because love is wholeness, and learn to live as that wholeness. And it takes practice. It truly does.
So, when you say it takes practice, Marlies,
Yeah.
what kind of practice are you talking about?
Well, I can only speak from my own experience. So first of all, the practice that I have found is very, very important is to learn to rest as love. To learn to rest as love or awareness or consciousness. It's really what word you give to it, as your true nature, as God, as emptiness, as fullness. So in my experience...
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's kind of getting on another track, but we'll come back to the practice, okay?
Yeah.
It's just that I have such an interest in that question,
Yeah.
Like you say, well, there's no difference between resting as love or as God or as emptiness or as stillness. But they are different flavors, different, how they're not interchangeable, are they? Because they capture like just something ever so slightly different of something that's kind of hard to capture anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how would you how is that for you? How would you describe that? Or how do you see that?
Yeah, I agree. I think there are different flavors. So everybody has their own word for it. Some people talk a lot
Mm-hmm.
about love, other people say a lot about silence,
Mm-hmm.
or awareness or consciousness. So everybody has their flavor that touches them. That's the word that captures their experience of their true nature, you could say,
Mm.
or the being that they are. And my sense is what is the most important, whatever your flavor is, if it's flavor consciousness or the flavor is beingness or silence, then go for it. You know, dive in, taste it, and taste it till you are that. Yeah.
Mm.
Because what we tend to do, and I think it's part of the Western world right now, is we get so distracted, like, oh, it's consciousness, oh, let's do that, oh, it's love, oh, let's do that. So we never really go in and dive in all the way all the way in the core or in the fullness of it till we're
Mm.
done or basically undone.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the flavor has first been not so much the word love. It was more silence. It was
Mm-hmm.
like silence and sitting in the silence, as the silence, on the silence, under the silence. It was like silence was my word. Everything was silence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was not kind of consciously thinking I need to go for it all the way, but that's what happened. I just
Mm-hmm.
sat in that, tasted that, and I feel that's still my main flavor
Mm-hmm.
in life. That's my experience, or you could say non-experience, is the silence and everything. And then after that was more that from that came more the sense of love,
Mm.
like sense of compassion, of open-heartedness, overflowing.
Mm.
Um, because I mostly don't use words consciousness very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like silence, being, and love, I would say. Those are the flavors that are closest to my heart.
So the second you said was yin,
No, silence.
silence, and
Silence,
love.
silence and love. Yeah,
Silence and love.
yeah.
Okay. Mm. Mm.
But I think what is for all of us, we we all know that when we say it, when we separate or divide it, we know, even no matter how separate and divided we are, we know something else is possible. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
heart speaking. We know it. You know, we don't need to read 10 million books for that, not even one book. We all know deep down something else is possible. And
Mm.
then it's kind of luck or that we get that little taste that then brings us on the path or, on
Mm.
that path of love or silence or wholeness.
Mm.
But truly, because in the core we are that. And then it's also love coming back for itself to be, realized.
Mm.
You know? So in a way, this love is always here, or the truth of our being is always here, kind of waiting to be acknowledged. And that's waking up to our true nature. Our
Mm.
true nature is here. It's just when that comes to the forefront and that's realized, it's like, oh, that's what I am. And then that has the flavors, love and consciousness and awareness and silence. So those are the different flavors. Does it make sense?
Yes,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah,
Actually, truth is another one, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think truth and love need to go hand in hand. Just truth or just love, that's just a half story.
Let's have it all.
Let's have it all. Right. So, yeah.
So let's get back to this, what you said, it takes practice. So the first, the first part that you mentioned, the first aspect of that practice was coming back to self, to silence, to love.
Yeah. And that's easier said than done, because the moment I know in the beginning when I started to meditate, meditation is for me a big practice. And in the beginning, meditation, I was not still. I could sense, of course, the silence of my being, but mostly my mind was just going, like, all the time, and feelings, ideas, images, and so meditation was not something that was very peaceful. It was very busy. And but then just sticking with it, and sitting. And I did also a lot of movement. A lot of active movement, that helped also a lot. Active expressing, and it's just letting the light shine on all of our humanity and all of our divinity. And so the practice came more and more. The more and more I got the taste that I am this love, or I am this being, or I am silence. That's really what was the main taste. I would just sit, and when I would sit, I would just basically connect with my true love, and say, okay, just be here and see if I can rest as that silence. But before that could happen, most of the time, I first needed to welcome everything that was on the screen. Pain, discomfort, wonderful thoughts, terrible thoughts, anything. So the more there was this quality like, well, what if this, I would allow this too? What if this, I would allow myself to be touched by this too, receive this too? And the more I did that, instead of like, there's a thought, oh, this shouldn't be there, why I'm not quiet? Of course I had those thoughts too. But then really, how about if this thought may be received here, maybe allowed here? What would happen? And the moment I would do that, I naturally start, resting as my true nature in silence. So in that way, that was the practice, to learn to allow and receive all that is. And then naturally there's an immense relaxation that starts happening, and then a resting as silence. So more and more naturally, resting as silence starts happening, and within the silence stuff would come up, and then that would be welcomed and tasted, and sometimes very challenging, very strong emotions or very strong thoughts. But instead of trying to get rid of them, I would say, okay, welcome, come on the altar and taste it. And the more I tasted it, then the more I could rest. And rest. So then, of course, there were also periods that when I would get off my cushion, I would not be resting as that. But then it was the practice to bring that in daily life. The moment when I'm with people or walk around, just noticing how everything comes into my consciousness, everything comes in my being. It's not that I come into someone else's, everything comes into me. And then all is well. And that taste of all is well, that started kind of taking over. And even in the midst of fear, of challenges, there was like, okay, yeah, this happens, this challenge, it's not put to the side, it's acknowledged. Yes, there is this pain. And as we talked in your last retreat about healing, and I can't remember exactly.
Awakening.
For me, that was in the body, a lot of energy and a lot of discomfort. And so I walk with that every second. But the more I started to receive that for what it was, discomfort, and going into the sensation, it became gone. It became the same love and silence. And then it's just silence being, silence walking, silence talking. And noticing, I could notice when I'm with someone, and of course I can be triggered by someone. And then just, if I react from the trigger, or do I respond? And it just hurts. It hurts me and the other when I start reacting. And to really come like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. It's just not worth it. Then coming more, and it's just coming more and more vulnerable to myself and to others. And, so it has been a process of practicing, of taking moments, of resting in the silence and then forgetting. And taking those moments of fully experience the wholeness of my being. And then, for instance, that was taught me within the Kashmirian Tantric tradition, was to fully take to heart your experience. So, like right now, just take little moments, 1 or 2 seconds, fully taste now, and then forget about it. So if I would be outside walking, as I fully taste the wholeness and the silence of my being, and then forget about it. Or if I eat a piece of toast, fully tasting the taste of the toast, and then forget about it. And then more and more, those became a string all through the day. So yeah, it was definitely a practice, and it still is. To me, that never stops. The resting is here. And still the vigilance is here too. So it's a constantly, you could say, responding as the being that I am.
So Marlies, it just comes to me to ask you if that would be okay with you.
Yeah.
Could you guide us in a little tantric, guided something, just this fully tasting. It's a kind of nice take or nice approach to that, to beingness.
To beingness and really going into your direct experience.
Yeah. And I know that's something that's one of your gifts. So could you do a little something with us?
Yeah.
Along those lines?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we lost you, Marlies, right at the beginning of when you were going to lead us in this dropping into the moment. And of course, it's just perfect because we were all dropped into a moment that we weren't expecting to happen. So so let's start again.
Okay, good. Well, so take a moment to lower your eyes and go inside. And first feel the connection with your buttocks, with your chair. And then notice how with every out breath, you sink a little bit deeper into your cushion or chair. And then I invite you to bring your attention to your breath. And just stay with the air when the air travels in all the way to your belly. And on the in-breath, how rises your belly and also your chest, and on the out-breath, it falls. To see what it's like to really feel your body receiving the air traveling in. Just exploring. What is that like? Taste the air traveling in and caressing my body. Traveling out. When there are thoughts or feelings, they're all welcome, or emotions. For now, just bring your attention to the air coming in, flowing in, flowing out, bringing life. Taste that, just that. Taste the taste of being breathed. Perhaps naturally your shoulders want to relax. Your jaw wants to relax. Your belly wants to be soft. Where the breath is where we are. And then feel the space. Feel the space in your belly and in your chest while the air is still traveling in and out. And just taste the taste of this space. Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it open? Is it closed? Just noticing. Perhaps you also feel a presence in this space. And then I invite you, just as an exploration, bring your attention to your face. And very, very slowly, let your face kind of kiss the space in front of you. It's kind of you're bringing your face a little bit forward and let your head go to the right and to the left. And just sense, what is it like to have the skin of your face and kiss the space in front of you. Just sensing. Very, very slow movement, as if you're moving through water or molasses. Tasting this. nowhere to go. Just this taste. Touch of skin with space. And then let yourself come back and hold your head still, hold your body still, and just receive what is here right now. Perhaps you feel vibration in your body. You feel softening, opening, or closing. Just whatever is here, receive that in your body. Slowly, slowly open your eyes and receive the forms in the room, the space and the forms in the room. Receive that in your consciousness. Okay?
Thank you, Marlies.
You're welcome. What was that like?
It was interesting because, you know, when we started, the experience of my moment was this, you know, finding a way of connecting with you. And I was still very full with that. And so it was just beautiful to get back into a more inner space and to taste, you know, to taste the stillness of that and the spaciousness of that.
Because truly by this really, really slow movement and, you know, kind of stepping into the breath or stepping into slow movement, we arrive here. We're so used to going somewhere. Then we arrive in our direct experience.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. And I'm wondering, you know, I'm going to look to see whether there are any questions or comments for you. Just to say, people can still. Oh, it's gonna take me some time to actually for the comments to load. It's just so interesting. That there are all these technical issues because they throw us right back into our experience, you know, and into the also an awareness of a movement that is there, right? That gets frustrated.
Yeah.
So
can get frustrated, yeah.
Yes. So there's both the experience of the movement and the experience of the frustration of the movement.
Yeah. But the frustration is an interpretation of what is, eh?
Yes. It's a certain description of what is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think also when the more we can rest as this love or as this sensation that we are, the easier it is also to relate. Because when we come from this place of relating first with ourselves and then with another, then we're not so busy to change the other, to do things to the other. But then there's a deeper resting in ourselves, and then resting meets resting, love meets love, wholeness meets wholeness, and not so much anything that needs to be different than is.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So, Marlies, there's one question actually that somebody asked of Della in the last session, but you know, I didn't see the comment at the time because it was right at the end of the question. And actually, it's a question by a therapist, body-mind therapist. And so I just decided to ask you the question.
Okay.
Because you're a therapist and you have, you know, I was sure that you could respond to that question. So here's what Sujati says. As a body worker and working with the emotions and minds of others, I have the feeling I do need to protect somehow from other people's energies. In the session with Dalla, we were talking a lot about how, you know, the protection, it's the protection that veils the directness of the experience and the intimacy of the loving presence. So she says she has a feeling I do need to protect somehow from other people's energies. Lately, I have been capturing other people's suffering, or maybe it's just that my own suffering is coming out in my body through being in contact with other people's suffering. The question is, how can I be open and love, and at the same time not be so affected negatively by other people's suffering?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, I would say that first of all, no matter with whom we work, to really rest as love or as awareness, to really rest there. And then, especially as a body worker, move as that love. And then the love, that movement, that open space, that is what we'll then receive. But it is there are a lot of people that want to protect themselves with putting light around them, etc. And if you feel moved to do that, you can do that. I'm more like when somebody has that pain, to let that flow through you. You receive it, you taste it, and the more you receive it and taste it, it comes through you. And I don't know how much as a body worker she talks with the people to really help them, the people she's working with, feeling into their experience so that they experience what they are experiencing. They go into the sensation of it and the experience. And sometimes it can be challenging when you work with people that are very traumatized. Because that often has to do with boundaries. So it's also, as a therapist or body worker, really important to set boundaries and be very clear about that. because when those boundaries are kind of vague, then it's easier that there can be a tiredness or something coming onto you. So that's what I do in my own practice is just resting. The resting is here as that love, and then it's easier and easier to help the people to stay in their experience, so they don't have to give it to me, so to speak. But also when there are a lot of people with a lot of trauma, it's good to have breaks in between, and sometimes just practically wash your hands. It's really just practical also to do that. So it's both. And it's interesting to study when, for instance, she works on someone's body, to really notice the moment when something starts sticking on her. And then noticing like, oh, is that something that's here not fully freed, or is it totally from the other? And to study that, just to be aware of that.
Can I chime in on that, Marlies?
Yeah, absolutely.
What occurs to me as I'm listening to you, and we can open this up. I mean, this is a question that doesn't just concern therapists, right? That concerns all of us, because we all have the experience of somehow there being exchanges with people where we take on somebody's negative energy.
Yeah.
Or we feel like, they all dumped it on us and now we're stuck with it, kind of thing. That tends to be how people describe it. And so, what I find interesting, and then, excuse me, and it goes a bit in the same direction, but with a different take, is that, when I work with people as a therapist, in my understanding of that space, that includes me and the other person, there's really no separateness. So the pain is either felt in that person or in me or in both. And it doesn't actually matter where it's felt. The point is that it is felt. And so when I feel it, I receive it and I express it for that person. I kind of say, this is what's there here. This is what's felt. This is what the feeling is. How does that resonate with you? And if it does, then it has served its purpose. And I'm usually not at all stuck with it. But, if I were to fight feeling that feeling because it doesn't feel good and it's not mine, it's like it's a very protection that actually gets it stuck.
Absolutely.
Would get it stuck in me.
Absolutely. And that is when we are open, when we allow ourselves to be pierced by whatever is happening, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there has to be
from the lady was that something got stuck on her.
Yes.
Yeah. And what I hear from you is that it's really flowing. It's free flowing.
It's something that I'm very aware is possible for it to flow because I don't reject it. I don't try to protect from that feeling that arises. That is not comfortable, that is painful. Sometimes it's physical pain, sometimes it's emotional pain. Yeah. But there has to, it's like there's a willingness to feel it all. And to not know whether it's mine or theirs.
Yeah.
you know, and really ultimately doesn't matter, because as a therapist, I'm in there with this other being, and what's important is that pain is freed, and it will arise as it will arise.
Absolutely.
And what it needs is to be held, to be seen, to be loved, to be, you know, welcome.
It's the same as when we're with ourselves, being touched by what is here. Work with someone else. When we are with someone else, we don't need to work with someone else to be touched by that too. It's like we just all like our open space, and in that open space we receive all of life, everything.
Yes.
And we're trained to not do that. We're trained like, oh, this is good, this is bad, this I shouldn't do that, you know, and we get afraid, like, oh my God, if I feel bad, it will be there forever. Oh. Open space, the more just in flows in and flows out. It just comes and be touched and it goes.
Yes.
It's a very natural process. Because I think most people that come in for me in therapy, they're afraid to feel their experience. They're afraid to truly experience what is. The moment you bring attention there, it's very simple. It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it hurts. Pain hurts.
Yes.
Actually, it doesn't stick to me. It doesn't stick to the therapist either.
Yes.
So, not needing to distract ourselves to not feel, to open ourselves up to be touched by what is goodness, deep love, and deep pain.
Yes, and you know, that's like you know, you use the word being pierced, letting oneself be pierced. It's counterintuitive, you know, it goes against all of our natural conditioned instincts.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole path, you know, it's really, the whole path is really about arriving just here. Just here, and tasting the here-ness.
Yes.
That's pure love, that's open space.
Yeah.
And there can be pain in that, and there can be happiness in that. That can be all tasted simultaneously.
Yes.
Kind of the inseparability of our humanity and our divinity. It's just always here. And for a long time, I see a lot of people on the path trying to get rid of their humanity because it doesn't feel good, or then it does feel good, and they only want to hang out in space or presence. But it's here both. Both. It's always both. Very freeing to know that. It's like, oh.
And that's what allows us to be truly intimate, isn't it? Because as long as we try to not be human beings, there cannot be any intimacy. You know, there cannot be any love of this moment, because this moment is lived by the human being.
Yeah.
Marlies, I'd just like to read out to you that there's two more comments. Stephen Howard says, Marlies, I appreciate the vivid description of your experience of practicing love, not as an adopted spiritual practice, but deeply intimate and individual. He says, you brought me back to my own personal true love. Thank you kindly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
There's not much you need to do for it. Right here.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And Bernard says, yes, realization, maturation, and actualization, as someone had it, where actualization is the ongoing moment-to-moment living practice of allowing all to fully arise and be touched and liberated by one's by one's realization, by what is realized.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when we're touched by pain and it's not resisted, it is freeing. You know, it is freeing because even that is what is.
Exactly. You don't have to fight anymore with what is. Doesn't mean there's never pain, exactly. It's just what is.
Yes.
That's tasted. And the more we taste what is, the more we fall into the love that we are in the midst of pain. And then again, we have the inseparability of our humanity and our divinity.
Mm.
Right there.
Mm. It's so beautiful, so clear coming from you, Marlies. It's such a gift you've given us.
Mm.
You know, first appearing, then disappearing. Making us all realize that the fragility and the vulnerability of connection.
Absolutely.
And yet it's all here. It's all perfect.
Exactly. And we can never really not be connected in a, we are connection itself.
Yes.
When we really deeply know that we are that connection, we are that wholeness.
Mm.
If a smile on your face is like, oh wow, it's just right here. If I'm with or without people, it doesn't matter. It's just the connection with our true being. There's only one being with many, many tastes. So this one taste of many, many tastes.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Marlies.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope people were able to hear it also over the phone.
I think so. I mean, I heard it in my headphones. So, and this, it was right by the mic. So I think it was fine. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you, Marlies.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It was wonderful. Thank you, Grace, for doing this. And I think it's wonderful what you're offering.
Yes.
Because people get all these different flavors of different teachers speaking their truth. And I think it's so important for people to know that as many people there are, as many flavors there are of truth and love. And so that we can really taste and own our own truth.
Yes.
And that's
to be
truly what it is about.
Yes, to be in love with that, to really offer it with love also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Marlies. And thank you to all of you for staying on in this session, even though it took a very unexpected turn.
Yeah. Never know what life brings.
Sorry?
We never know what life.
No, we don't. We don't. And it's just so beautiful that we have this ability to welcome it all, just as it comes. To receive it as that love, as that stillness. as that beingness. So I'll just thank you again, Marlies, and I'll just say to those of you who happened into this session by chance, it's a session of the live online retreat on living from love. You find more information on the website www.living-from-love.com. You can still register. There are 2 more sessions with speakers to come, and then there's a closing session with just myself. We're on to for me it's a lunch break. For others it may be an afternoon break or a morning break. But I'll see you at around about an hour, 20 minutes for a session with Padma and Torsten on relating from love. So until then, bye-bye.